to shut the hand so true, loyal until his friend goes number two. During the heat of the game, it's clear he's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears. Quickly, it's a real heater. One more friend, he's a locker room leader. In the chaos, he's the center, turning us into believers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday night. It is 7 p.m. It is time for the Locker Room Breakdown, coming up here ahead of the Raw Patrol, which comes your way on the YouTube channel for Turnbuckle Studios at 8 o'clock Eastern with Mr. Chris Best. And ladies and gentlemen, last week, MSG was not just a short form for SALT. No, it was the home of Monday Night Raw. Madison Square Garden, the mecca of sports entertainment. And on a night full of surprises, twists and turns on the road to WrestleMania, we got some clarity, we got some answers, and we got some more matches for something that is coming up in just 12 days, ladies and gentlemen. Just under 2 weeks away from the granddaddy of them all. And this was Raw, so what the hell was Cody Rhodes doing on Monday Night Raw? Ladies and gentlemen, Cody Rhodes kicked off Raw to a surprise, and he said, I couldn't pass up Madison Square Garden as your undisputed champion. And as soon as he asked Madison Square Garden, what do you want to talk about? We're interrupted by Stephanie McMahon, the soon-to-be WWE Hall of Famer, showed up, and it was a promo. This was Stephanie at her absolute best, lighting a fire under Cody as she told him, you can't beat this version of Randy Orton. This is a Randy Orton you're not ready for. You're not ready for the Viper. Cody countered by saying, I know a lot of what this Randy Orton has done, he's done to you. And then she went out and she said, you are not like your father. Cody went on the path and said, I remember a time when I would have to check on Randy Orton, make sure he was still breathing while he was passed out in the car driving to the next town. And then he looked and said to Stephanie, you know what? You're right. I'm not like my father, and you are not like yours either, which drew a slap from the $1 billion princess. Yes, that was the Stephanie McMahon that we got last week, ladies and gentlemen, was the $1 billion princess. Stephanie then proceeded to tell him, start thinking like a Viper. Start thinking like an apex predator, or you're not leaving WrestleMania with that title. Cody then looked at her and said, you know what, Steph? I've got 2 words for you. Thank you. And he walked out of the ring with Stephanie's music playing. What a surprise to open Raw. Emotional, passionate. I loved it. This had me hooked. This was absolutely huge. Then we go backstage and we see Adam Pearce talking with IShow Speed, who he informs that he has front row seats for Monday's Street Fight Tag Team title match, and that LA Knight will be a guest commentator. And then in our first match of the night, something that I fully expected was going to be our main event, we had the Usos versus the Vision in a street fight. So there was no tags in and out, guys. This was not your standard tag team match. And of course, we saw it all. Kendo sticks, trash cans. It was a delight to our very own Carl Carafel, who was not with us because he was on assignment with the shoot job last Monday. But things got a little bit feisty, shall we say. Logan Paul went to take out the brass knucks. LA Knight got involved. And Logan dropped the knucks. IShow picked them up and looked like he was going to walk away with them. As LA Knight went to go and grab him from behind to take the knucks, IShow Speed turned around, laid out LA Knight. And Logan Paul got the knucks again, laid out Jimmy Uso as Jay attacked Logan Paul at ringside. Theory literally just dropped his arm and got the pin. And ladies and gentlemen, as we called it last week, your winners and new World Tag Team Champions, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, who were not accompanied by Paul Heyman, The Vision. As The Vision made their way back up the ramp, they had their hands raised by IShow Speed because he and Logan Paul are buddies. Let's not mince words, they are friends. But this was IShow Speed not trying to get involved and inadvertently nailing LA Knight. Even IShow showed that he didn't really want to be celebrating and said, whoa, guys, that was an accident. That was not on purpose. I didn't do that for you. But where do we go from here at WrestleMania now for LA Knight? Does IShow Speed become that celebrity involvement? I really don't know, ladies and gentlemen. There are still a lot of moving parts in all of this. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, Liv Morgan came out to cut a promo on Stephanie Vicaire. And yes, this did get interrupted as well. Liv Morgan just said, basically, you're done for. Now I know the title is mine. It is coming home where it belongs. She admonished Stephanie Vicaire, even getting into some language at the end. But Liv also played to the home crowd advantage as she is from just down the interstate in New Jersey. And said, my mother told me not to let anybody or any obstacle stand in my way or get the best of me. Vicaire did come out and laid out Liv Morgan with a kick. Went to use a chair to get interrupted by yet another return, and one that I was, again, extremely excited to see, as the prodigy, Roxanne Perez, made her return to Raw, and she and Liv proceeded to beat down La Primera and your women's world heavyweight champion, Stephanie Vaquer. This really has me wondering, where do Roxanne and Raquel actually fit in long term with Liv Morgan? We are going to get to Raquel a little bit later on. But we know that things have been tense between her and Liv for a little while, even though they're not really letting it show. Now you've just had Roxanne, who's returned and teamed with both of these women. Someone who was brought into the Judgment Day by the now deposed Finn Balor. So you have to wonder, does this become a situation of Roxanne and Raquel showing their allegiance for now and turning at WrestleMania? Does just one of them turn? Do they show solidarity and go after the tag team titles to bring more gold back to the Judgment Day post WrestleMania? Again, we will discuss that in just a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is getting interesting. We then move on to the Women's Tag Team Championship. Yes, another title match, another tag team title match. And we've already seen one set of tag titles change hands on Monday. Do we see another as Bayley and Lyra take on the irresistible forces of Nia Jax and Lash Legend? We saw Bayley and Lyra show up on the previous edition of SmackDown when the Bellas got involved in Charlotte and Alexa versus Nia and Lash. Were all of those combustible elements going to come into play? What were we going to get as a result? What we got, ladies and gentlemen, was a fantastic match. This was huge. And ladies and gentlemen, this match did not disappoint. Lash Legend really stepped up in the world's most famous arena. She is one that is really, really growing on me and all of us here at Turnbuckle Studios. We did eventually see the Bellas make their way out to the ring. Charlotte and Alexa almost in tow with a confrontation out there. And Lyra got involved in them, and they weren't even involved in the match. Lyra got involved trying to get them away. When Nia pushed her into all four women, knocking them all down, Charlotte then proceeded to jump in the ring and attack, getting the Irresistible Forces disqualified and saving the tag team titles, which led to backstage confrontations between everybody. And we ended up getting the result of a fatal four-way at WrestleMania for those women's tag team championships. And I can't wait. Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue on, let's take a look at just how you can help us out here at Turnbuckle Studios.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, videos games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever wanted your break in podcasting, content creation, a potential collaboration, or just to help us out behind the scenes, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Hit the join button, email us your credentials, tell us how you believe you can help us, how you feel we can help you. We will sit down as a collective and figure out the right fit. All of that and so much more at turnbucklestudios.org. Up next, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar come out for a promo on Obafemi. And yet another twist in all of this, as Brock Lesnar came out in his gear instead of coming out in jeans and his t-shirt. Maybe feeling that, he was caught off guard by Oba by not being in his gear. They proceeded to call out Obafemi. And as Paul Heyman was speaking, Brock grabbed the mic and called out Oba. This was intriguing because we haven't heard Brock speak again in a long time on his own. And he was doing such a good job of it. I do not believe that Brock Lesnar necessarily needs Paul Heyman in his corner. I do believe that the Vision need him a little bit more. And that's just Brock's experience. But Oba did come out. Oba accepted and stepped up. We got the stare down. But Adam Pearce and WWE security and officials were there to get involved even before Oba got into the ring. But we did see them go face to face, nose to nose, until Triple H got involved, admonishing both men. Ladies and gentlemen, what was wrong with that picture? I'm all for Triple H coming out, but Triple H came from the side. He didn't come from the back. He didn't come storming down. And Triple H should have grabbed a mic, though his presence was enough and really set this segment over the top. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, another fantastic hook for last week. At this point, I was starting to wonder if we were going to go to a 3-hour Raw. Ladies and gentlemen, this show was just off the charts. And I mean, really, we've had 2 matches and 2 amazing promos. 3 amazing promos and 2 matches by this point. Let's not forget, we also had Finn Balor, but he sent a pre-taped promo where he did challenge Dom to a match at WrestleMania. Right now, nothing is on the line. We don't know if Dom is going to put the AAA Mega Championship on the line. I know our very own Chris Best is hoping he does. I don't think this needs it. I think that this can be that one shot. Finn can take it, whether he beats Dom or he loses. If he loses at WrestleMania, he gets the victory at Backlash and you carry on to Clash in Italy. But I do believe that Finn is going to unleash the demon at WrestleMania, which is going to severely distract Dom, throw him off his game, and really mess with his head. And that is going to allow Finn to pick up the win. This whole thing started a year ago at WrestleMania when Dom pinned Finn to win the Intercontinental Championship in that fatal 4-way. Speaking of the Intercontinental Championship, we had Penta, who had issued an open challenge. And it was accepted by Kofi Kingston. And ladies and gentlemen, if this would have been Kofi Kingston in his prime, for as good as this match was, that match would have been so much better. Back and forth, the experience of both men, the technical stylings, the aerial abilities, this was back and forth. This was a clinic and a great, great match. I'm not a Lucha Libre fan. I make no bones about it. But I do respect the style. I am not a Kofi Kingston fan. But the fact that he is really growing into that mentor, that locker room leader for Raw, I respect, I appreciate. Kofi even hit the Trouble in Paradise as Penta came off the rope, but Kofi got it low, allowing Penta to kick out. Penta did go on to hit the Destroyer and pick up the victory to retain, after which he was interviewed by Jackie Redmond asking, what is your path for WrestleMania? And Penta said, WrestleMania, the ladder goes up. And no, I'm not acknowledging our tribal chief. It's going to hang 20 feet above the ring. And anybody who wants to do it has to climb. He said, at WrestleMania, ladder match. We didn't even know who the opponents were, though we did find out a little bit later that it would be Javon Evans, Rusev, JD McDonough, and one more. I can't remember who it is. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Best will be able to give you that knowledge a little bit later on. Once again, Paul Heyman comes back out. This time to cut a promo on Seth Rollins after being bugged all night by Adam Pearce saying, have you checked your email? And as Paul Heyman was speaking, Adam Pearce comes out and told him, put a sock in it, will ya? Says, so you know that last week, Boston police have dropped all charges, and the restraining order he got against Seth Rollins was null and void. So all charges against Seth Rollins were dropped. Paul proceeded to let us know that, yes, of course I knew that. What do you think I am, an idiot? Though he seemed to stammer through it, so it seemed to have caught him off guard just a little bit. And then Adam Pearce drops the bombshell. And you know that as of this very moment, Seth Rollins has been cleared for in-ring competition, which really triggered Paul Heyman. His eyes, he got the bug eyes, he got everything going on as Seth Rollins' music and pyro hits. But Seth Rollins, again, came from behind, laid out Paul Heyman with the chair, and he went to go and get something else and was attacked by Gunther? Out of nowhere, Gunther, who we had no clear idea for WrestleMania. We were anticipating a Braun Breaker. We didn't get it. I am intrigued by this, ladies and gentlemen. Yet another massive surprise in Gunther. taking out Seth Rollins. And he laid him out with the sleeper on the announce table, all of it. What does this mean? Is Gunther aligned with Paul Heyman? Is Gunther the new leader of the Vision? So many questions there. But it was funny because Gunther, when he walked away, did not go over to rescue or pull Paul Heyman up, shake his hand. He walked past Paul Heyman and left him laying there on the edge of the apron. This intrigues me, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we did not have a storyline or a way for Gunther to go to WrestleMania. But does this become another case of Gunther losing under the bright lights on the biggest stage of them all because Seth Rollins is making his return, his babyface turn, all of that? Is that where we go from here? I had thought, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I thought Gunther's career had plateaued, and this adds a new wrinkle to that, and I hope that this gets him back on track to go for a world championship very, very soon. Does this become Gunther's moment? And true, although Gunther is a star, does this become his defining match? Does this become his true star-making match at WrestleMania? I am intrigued, ladies and gentlemen. One more match for you and one more promo. Ladies and gentlemen, our main event match of the evening, Io Sky and Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel came out alone. No Liv Morgan, no Roxanne Perez, and they did not get involved. This was the power and size of Raquel Rodriguez versus the speed and the agility of Io Sky. We have seen these two go back and forth in tag team matches. We've seen them go one-on-one before. This was a whole new story. This was what I was hoping for WrestleMania for both of these women. But we did get some interference from the Kabuki Warriors. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Kabuki Warriors did interfere. Asuka dragging Kairi Sane out, again showing her dominance, her control over her protege, over her student. And what more can be said? It did end up causing a distraction because Io went and took out Asuka, but then it cost Io because, again, these baby faces are allowing themselves to be distracted on the outside. And it's getting very, very tiresome. And it's not just the baby faces, guys. When you get a baby face coming out to distract the heel on the top rope, like we've seen the week before with Dom, guess what? Hit the move. Go for your finish. Deal with that after. It's getting to be a case of too much of the same thing. Although the context may be different because you've got the heel babyface dynamic, whether it's the heel that's getting distracted, the babyface that's getting distracted. And I understand it, but it's getting to be too much of the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, one more break and we are going to wrap it up with our final segment of Raw before we move on to the preview. Ladies and gentlemen, please take a look at our shop.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Once again, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. We want you to support your favorite shows and your favorite podcasters. Wear what we wear. And all of those proceeds come back into our studios to deliver you a better experience. All of that and so much more at turnbucklestudios.org, your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our final segment of the evening. Once again, the main event of night 2 of WrestleMania, CM Punk and Roman Reigns. This was not even a promo. This was just a straight up fight. Punk marched to the ring with a purpose after Roman Reigns had entered. Punk had his wrist tape. He took off the belt before he even got to the ring. And they just went. And they went. And they went. Ladies and gentlemen, this match could potentially steal the entire WrestleMania weekend. This is not just a match, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a war. This time it wound up being CM Punk putting Roman Reigns through the table with a powerbomb, through the announce table with a powerbomb, and then hitting 2 GTSs on the outside. Now, we have had the physicality, we've had the promo battles. Now we've got both of these guys in each other's heads. Now we need to keep them separate until WrestleMania. Let one of them kick off the show, let one of them end the show. Or you do the backstage interview with them. But now we need to keep them separate. This match has already had all of us here at the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program and Turnbuckle Studios hooked and on the edge of our seats. Now we need to bring it home without either of these guys injuring the other. Ladies and gentlemen, one more commercial break and I will be right back with tonight's preview of Raw.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we go TNA as we brace for Impact at 9 p.m. On Fridays, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later that night, we have the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day. And please visit turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, for the last time, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And now we want you to meet the team. Myself, Chris Parrish, Chris Best, Bubba Duke, and Carl Carafel. Click on each of our individual links. Get all of our socials so you can interact with us there. And then watch all of our latest weekly live episodic shows, including this one, which will go up in just a little while. All of that and so much more. Turnbucklestudios.org. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is going to be, again, absolutely huge. Seth Rollins is slated to open Monday Night Raw and respond to Gunther. I'm going to assume that this is where he's going to lay out the challenge for WrestleMania. Does Gunther respond with Paul Heyman, or does Gunther respond on his own? Does Paul Heyman respond with Gunther in tow, or does Paul Heyman respond and say, no, this was just a business deal? This is going to be very, very intriguing. 3 matches that I know of. We are going to get a teacher versus student matchup here tonight as Finn Balor goes one-on-one with his former protege and Judgment Day brother, J.D. McDonough. All of this is leading to Dom and Finn at Mania. Does Dom get involved? Does Dom stay in the back? Is this a case of JD having to eat maybe the most vicious defeat of his career, knowing how he ticked off his former mentor? Does this become a case of the numbers game on Finn Balor, which is going to provoke the demon to awaken inside of him? Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of questions heading into this match. Again, I am very, very intrigued to see it, and I cannot wait. Based on what happened on SmackDown, and this is WrestleMania season, so again, it is all hands on deck for Raw. Rhea Ripley reunites with Io Sky to take on the team of Jade Cargill and of Michin and BFAB, who have been doing Jade Cargill's dirty work when it comes to Rhea Ripley. Does this matchup take them out of the equation for WrestleMania, or does it just further that story? Does it maybe push them into the women's tag team title picture post-Mania? Again, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of questions here to be answered. And based on last week and what we saw, Austin Theory, with Logan Paul in his corner, will go one-on-one with L.A. Knight. Yeah. Does IShowSpeed show up? We've had L.A. Knight crash his set after what happened last Monday. We saw what happened when IShow accidentally laid out L.A. Knight. Does he get involved? Does this set L.A. Knight's path for WrestleMania? Does IShowSpeed become that celebrity? We don't even know what the Vision is now doing at WrestleMania, because we don't know if they have a tag team title defense at Mania or if they're going to wait until the Raw after. Ladies and gentlemen, so many moving parts again in this scenario. Do the Usos have LA Knight's back, or do we see the reunion of the Bloodline? We are also going to have, once again, Brock Lesnar and Obafemi under one roof. And ladies and gentlemen, I am once again intrigued to see this. Are we going to get the physicality? Are they going to be kept separate by Adam Pearce and the officials? Does Triple H get in there again? Does this match get a special enforcer or a special referee in the form of Triple H because of the stature of Brock Lesnar and the up-and-coming Oba Femi? Again, lots of moving parts. Do we need Paul Heyman in this segment? Maybe, maybe not. Do we need the physicality in this situation? No, I think tonight, again, just needs to be straight promo. We have had the physicality. We've now had them separated. We need to keep that separation and keep that distance to keep this match intact and a cornerstone match of WrestleMania. This match, ladies and gentlemen, could set the tone for WrestleMania by being the opener on night one. It could also be your semi-main event on either night to give a rub like Brock Lesnar is giving Oba Femi in this situation. I love it. And CM Punk. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we will hear from our World Heavyweight Champion as he will address the beatdown on Roman Reigns last week. Is Roman there? I don't know. Does Roman respond in kind tonight? I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, all of this and so much more. Please stay tuned to all Turnbuckle Studios channels and Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, please remember the world is much better with you in it. And from all of us here at Turnbuckle Studios and the Locker Room Breakdown, to those of you out there wherever you are, good night, good luck, we out.
In the locker room, a guy you'll find loves bad hockey teams, can't deny. His best friend is just a hand so true, loyal until his friend goes number two. During the heat of the game, it's clear he's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone